Today I'm going to be smoking a whole brisket. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to be doing it hot and fast. Well, kind of hot and fast. Stay tuned. Okay, what I have here is a whole packer brisket. What makes it a whole brisket is that the flat has not been separated from the point. You can take a look right here, you can see the directions of the grain. The flat is running this way, so when you carve it, you're gonna carve against the grain, so you're gonna get your slices like that. At the point, as you can see, it's a completely different direction of grain compared to the flat. And my butcher took the liberty of making this indentation right there, makes it easier to separate. People use the point to make your burn ends, and it's also, because it has more fat content, it's just a juicier piece of meat than the flat. When I choose a flat, I always want to make sure the flat is thick enough and has enough fat, because if the layer of fat is too thin, it's just going to render down and you can end up burning your meat, which no one wants to do that. This is ideally how I would like it to be, but this is just a smaller brisket. I'm just doing this for myself and my family, so we'll be all right. I'll just have to monitor that pretty closely, keep it away from the heat. But yeah, right now I'm just gonna go ahead and trim it up. It doesn't need too much trimming, but then I'm gonna inject it with some garlic cloves, get my brisket rub on there, season it up, let it sit for a little bit, and then I'm gonna throw it on the smoker. Stay tuned. So today I'm smoking this brisket with mesquite wood because mesquite puts off a really strong smoke flavor, and that's my personal preference. Whatever I'm smoking, whatever protein it is, I like it to be smoky. So I'm using mesquite, and I said I'm gonna smoke this hot and fast, kinda. So basically I'm smoking at about 275, which is kind of against the, sorry about that, my dog's attacking a squirrel, kind of against the standard 225 low and slow that could take all day, all night, which is one of the joys of barbecue, sitting around a smoker all day. But today I'm kind of pressed for time, so I'm starting off at 275, hoping that mesquite wood is strong enough to get a nice smoke flavor as I'm forming my bark, and then gradually I'm gonna crank it up to about 300 and probably finish it off at about 350, hoping that I can get this done with allowing it to have some time to rest before dinner. I'm supposed to be having some brisket tacos, so we'll see how it goes. So my brisket's been smoking for just over 2 hours. I added a temperature probe to keep track of the internal temp. Now I'm gonna go ahead and check it. And we're still getting some smoke on there, but it's got a nice mahogany color to it. Personally, I want it to be a little bit darker than this. I don't even mind if it gets black. I like a nice crust on my brisket, as long as it's not too dry. So I'm gonna let that smoke, and once it hits a certain temp, maybe 170, 177 maybe, I might go ahead and wrap it to speed up the cooking process. So I just checked the internal temperatures of the brisket. In some areas there's about 169, some areas in the 170s. So I went ahead and wrapped it. And instead of using foil, I'm using butcher paper. Key thing with using butcher paper is make sure you don't overwrap it. If you overwrap it using more than one layer, you're basically using foil. That basically defeats the purpose of using butcher paper. It's thinner, it allows the meat to sweat, it also allows it to breathe, and it allows it to receive more smoke. That's why you use butcher paper over foil. But like I said, make sure you don't overwrap it. I only used one layer. Okay people, it is officially crunch time. dinner time is supposed to be at 7. I was able to get it pushed back to 7:30 because I need at least 2 hours for this brisket to rest. So it's about almost 5:30 now. So it's actually like 5:25. So if I get this brisket off within the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna put it in that cooler right there, wrap it up with a towel, and 2 hours later, my wife will be able to cut into it and we'll be able to get those brisket tacos like I've been promising all week. So right now, we are at 197. I want to get to 203, but I can pull it at 197 because it's still going to cook, but I want that 203 number if I can get it. But I've got like 3 minutes for this thing to go up from 198 to 203. And also, I'm going to have to check for tenderness, of course, because that's like the main thing you check for. But hopefully I get there. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, you're going to edit me out, huh?
Yes, I'm going to edit you out.
Okay, good.
Okay, so the brisket has been taken off the rack. I wrapped it in a towel, put it in the cooler, let it set for 2 hours. One reason why you want to do this is because it allows the brisket to come down in temperature, and it also helps retain some of the moisture, and it allows the moisture to go back to the muscle fibers instead of escaping out via steam. Also, it helps with colorization. It helps maintain the brisket's color, that reddish mahogany color, instead of it being brown inside all the way through. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut it up and see what we got. So here, if you can remember, this is the flat and this is the point. One thing people do before they smoke the brisket, they'll cut an indentation right here to help remind them or help them be able to recognize which part is which. Because right now, I mean, I've smoked several briskets, so I know. But if this is like your first brisket, you look at it, you wouldn't be able to really tell the difference. So what I'm gonna do, because I'm thinking I'm going to make some burn ends out of the point right here, I'm just gonna start by cutting down the center. Here I just separated the flat from the point, and as you can see, that layer of fat in there in the point, we got a nice smoke ring, really moist, really juicy. And now I'm going to carve into the flat, and this is going to be what my wife uses to make tacos. And if you look at that, that is a perfect brisket. You can do that whole balance thing that the non-amateur guys such as myself do. That's what you're looking for. And I'm just gonna go ahead and pull it apart like that. I want a fat part, sorry. Tastes great, folks. So yeah. So I know the title of this video says hot and fast brisket. It was kind of hot and fast because what I did was I started off at about 275, in between 275 and 300. I did that for a few hours. And once it got up to about 170 in different spots, I wrapped it with butcher paper, only wrapping it once so that the butcher paper is going to work as intended. Otherwise, if I wrapped it too many times, it would just be like aluminum foil and it defeats the entire purpose of using butcher paper. And then after that, I increased the temperature of the smoker to 400 degrees and just let it ride. And it really helped to go right through the stall. Stall normally happens anywhere in between 160 and 180. That's when the brisket normally stalls out, and it will out, because what happens is it starts to sweat and that moisture brings the temperature down, and you'll kind of go crazy if you're trying to figure out what's going on if you didn't know that was going to happen, because you'll be at 175 and then all of a sudden you come back a half hour later, you're at 170. So by increasing the temperature like that, I was able to just power right through the stall, and the brisket finished off. I pulled it at about 203, let it sit for 2 hours, and there you go. That's one of the best briskets I've ever made. It tastes great. So I'll probably be doing the hot and fast method from now on, unless I just feel like sitting in my backyard for 18 hours. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.